what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to this afternoon's live stream for more transfer news and updates. Plenty to get through today. Packed show, obviously latest on Neymar links, Raphinha, Sterling, the Ligt, Koundé, Maxwell Cornet as well, one that's kind of appeared in the last hour or so. So we'll get stuck into that and loads more. And I'm delighted to be joined by the main man himself from GNA TV, Jem. Thanks for coming on, bro. Welcome to the channel. I know you've just come straight from yours, so really appreciate your time as always, and appreciate all the guys that have popped over from your stream to come and tune in with us now. Mate, only one place to start. These links with Neymar don't seem to be going anywhere. The latest reports this morning indicating that Neymar's representatives have contacted Chelsea. Jem, where do you stand with Neymar, mate? Kind of divides opinion on Chelsea Twitter, you know, divides opinion in terms of the fact that like, people don't think his work rate, his attitude. I don't think there's any doubt about his ability, etc. Todd Boehly wants a statement signing. This would certainly be it. I mean, the reports aren't going away. How likely do you think this could be that we could see Neymar in a Chelsea shirt next season?
From what Ben Jacobs has said in yesterday's show, it seems like it's one of them ones of that they are willing to let him leave, but there hasn't been anyone that's actually approached him with some sort of interest. He has been offered to Barcelona for around 43 million euros as well, or sterling it might have been, which obviously we already know their financial situation, how many players they're trying to sign, so that hasn't helped. But yeah, it's a weird one because I'm not the biggest fan of him coming to Chelsea. I don't really get the whole like in the way that we're moving forward and what we're trying to do. I don't get a signing like Neymar. 31 years old. He's probably going to destroy our wage structure as well. Let's be serious. He's going to want some serious dough coming over here as well. And then it's like, how long's the contract length going to be to have him here as well? There's no doubt that he's a great player. We know that he's a good player. But one of the biggest issues with him as well is that 22 games a season he's played in the last 2 to 3 seasons. That's not a lot of game time for it. And you're going to come to a league and a team that plays 50 games a season, and you're meant to be one of the main starting 11. Like, you're going to be relied to play at least minimum of like 40 games, I feel. Do you know what I mean? And that worries me a little bit with Neymar. Like, are we going to be able to get 40 games out of him? And you know he's going to get kicked the hell out of in the Premier League as well. And he gets injured. He gets injured more frequently ever since he had that big injury with PSG, which put him out for a long time. And I think there's just better options out there. Do Chelsea go for him? If Todd Boehly wants to make that marquee signing, he is a marquee player, isn't he? You know, that sort of player. Him and Declan Rice for me are the type of players that are sort of their marquee signings in terms of their, like, I mean, Neymar's a bigger player than Declan Rice, but then when you think of Declan Rice and obviously his fees and whatever, you know, if he wanted to set a statement, they're the sort of two players maybe that maybe stand out more. But I don't know. We'll just have to see.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, mate. Like, in theory, it sounds great. You know, the thought of Neymar. Look, whatever people think of him, he's a footballing icon. You know, he's one of those mega stars. I mean, I wouldn't say he's quite in the same bracket as Ronaldo and Messi, but he's like right up there as one of the most marketable football players on the planet, probably with those two. It would certainly make sense from a commercial standpoint. It would add a lot of value to off-pitch activities for sure. On the pitch, as you say, though, mate, his output at PSG, it's not been great. I mean, ironically, under Tuchel, he had his most productive season in terms of goals and assists and stuff. Played a lot of games as well. So Tuchel definitely knows how to get him playing. You know, I think Neymar said in the past that he'd do anything for Tuchel on the pitch. But I mean, yeah, I just don't know if this is like a very Chelsea signing. It's one of them that if Roman was still in charge, I think there'd be quite a large possibility of this happening because it's sort of signing that he would make. But I don't know. I don't know how suited, as you say, he'd be to the Premier League. You know, we see and we know he's got all the skills, all the tricks and that. He's quite flimsy though, in terms of like, he's always hitting the deck. He's always rolling around. I don't know how he'd, you know, face up to the physicality of the Premier League, the pace of the Premier League. I just don't know if that would suit his game, if he'd fit into the system. I mean, do you even think that Tuchel would be on board with this signing if Boehly tried to kind of pursue it?
Well, that's the biggest question. I think if Thomas Tuchel wants it, then I think Boehly goes for it. And I think the one thing that you've seen very soon in the Boehly era is that he's willing to back this manager. The fact that Lukaku got moved on or shifted so quickly, and it was such a quick process, within 4 days he was gone, just goes to show that maybe he's listening to what Tuchel has to say. And Tuchel obviously has a great relationship with Neymar, but I do still think Tuchel would look at him as the player he is at the moment. Yeah, he got the best out of him and whatever else, but he is getting a lot older. 31 is not old. Don't get me wrong when you think about players, but do you know what it is with Neymar? It's the way he plays the game that worries me, because that he wants to take players on. That he's going to dribble around one or two players, and most of the times players like Neymar who have the ability to do that are the ones that usually get kicked the crap out of, don't they? And that worries me a little bit. So I don't know. Look, Thomas Tuchel, if Thomas Tuchel turns around and goes to Bowley, look, forget the Raphinha deal. We could get Neymar for near enough the same amount or maybe less. His wage might be an issue, but I know him quite well. Maybe I can get him to take a cut, or I don't know. Do you know what I mean? That relationship's there. Maybe if we can get an agreement with him, then we'll give it a go. Then I think Bowley would back it, but I think Tuchel would have to want him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure, mate. I mean, I've seen things on Twitter saying that like people think like possibly a loan move could be the best solution. I mean, I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I mean, I think it's clear now that Neymar perhaps this summer could be the closest to leaving PSG potentially he's almost ever been during his time there. I mean, reports from Brazil saying he wants to go. There's other stuff coming out today saying that Campos, the new sporting director there, is happy for him to leave. But as I said, there's only very few clubs that can afford him. Probably Chelsea, Newcastle, and Man United, I think, were the three that were listed. I mean, for me, if a loan deal ever happened to be put on the table for a year and then you reassess it in a season's time, I mean, a loan deal for Neymar is probably win-win, isn't it?
It is. It still falls down to wage structure, though. Again, doesn't it? Like, what are you going to get in terms of wage for him? You've got to remember, I keep saying to people that Chelsea have to have what we call a smart window. It's important to get these players that are important, like the Ligt and if the Koundés and the Sterlings and potentially a Raphinha or a Dembele. That's all fine, but I think from Todd Bowley's standpoint, it's about getting good deals on fees. Like, i.e., why we're looking at De Ligt. When you look at the De Ligt thing, giving Juventus a player is to just reduce the cash cost, cost. But then also when you get them on, it's about how you structure the wages. And yeah, look, the loan option would probably be the better way forward, because then you're not sort of committing yourself to like a 2-3 year contract, and say in the first season it doesn't work for him and you're just like, crap, we're stuck with him now and he's on this wage, which is ultimately a problem that Chelsea have had for quite long, haven't they? They end up giving stupid wages to someone and then they have like a 4 or 5 year contract like Ross Barkley, and then they don't get rid of him for 5 years.
Well, mate, this is what we're seeing this summer as well. Players we've signed in the past on ridiculous wages, we can't get rid of them. We literally can't shift like most of these guys that have been here 3-4 years. But I think, Neymar's definitely one to watch over this window for sure. But I mean, if we're being totally honest, it's probably highly unlikely to happen. But if it did happen, I mean, I'll be fully on board with it. But how well it goes remains to be seen. But sticking with the attackers, mate, Raphinha, obviously fee was agreed, I think, Tuesday night with Leeds, 65 million pounds. But obviously, bit of a curveball coming in. Barcelona trying to hijack the deal. Obviously, financially, they can't compete with Chelsea's offer, the 65 million pounds. Leeds want to do the deal with Chelsea because we're offering the majority of the money up front, which is actually quite unusual in these sort of deals. It's normally kind of spread over installments, but Chelsea have been prepared to offer most of the money up front. It's obvious that Raphinha's first choice has always been Barcelona. They've been linked with him for a while. He would like to go there, like a lot of Brazilian players. They're obviously represented by former Barcelona player and Chelsea player Deco. That move is definitely their priority. That's what Raphinha would like. But I mean, he's not Barca's priority though. Barca's priority is to get Lewandowski through the door first. So Raphinha is not even the Barcelona priority. I mean, Jem, how long should Chelsea be waiting for a decision from Raphinha before looking to move on to other targets? Because we can't be held to ransom by a player. Bowley's moved quick. We've agreed the fee. There's loose agreement on personal terms. I think a 5-year deal with an option of a 6th, roughly around 115k a week. So give or take doubling his Leeds wage. How long do we wait for him, mate? Because we just don't want to be waiting. And whilst we're waiting for his decision, we're kind of potentially missing out on other targets. I've seen we tried to hijack the Richarlison deal potentially as well. Well, he's obviously signed for Spurs now. So if Raphinha, does decide to join Barca, or that does work out and we're wasted time waiting for him, we could be missing out on other targets.
It's exactly what you said there. It's a missing out on targets. If I'm Todd Bowley, I'm giving it to the end of this weekend. That's what I would do personally, because there's not much more. I don't think there's much more that we need to know in this scenario. I think the situation is clear. His dream was to play for Barcelona. They didn't sniff. They wasn't sniffing around when Arsenal put a bid in. We hijacked the bid from Arsenal. We get a full agreement. We get a full agreement with Leeds. Personal terms we were told weren't going to be a problem, but then Barcelona just come knocking on the window for no apparent reason, knowing that they're not going to be able to, knowing that they're not going to be able to match what Chelsea have done. And all they've done is they've just put an element of like a doubt in our minds specifically, but like it's kind of just stalled everything. But I think Barcelona are just taking the piss, to be honest, at the moment, mate. Like you look at what they're doing across football at the moment. Like they seem to have their fingers in a lot of things, and they're just not getting things done because they're just not in a position to do so. But they're just trying to make these. They may want the player, but they're just trying to make them wait for whatever reasons. And if I'm Raphinha, like I get it, it's your dream to play for Barcelona. You commit to Chelsea for 4 to 5 years. You might never get that opportunity to play for Barcelona because eventually they will sort themselves out. Yeah. They will buy players, and it might be that the new person that they've just brought in at any time becomes the new superstar when it could have been maybe him, for example. And I get all that, but we're in sort of, and Tuchel said we're in a rebuild phase. Like we've got so much to sort out. We haven't even started. Think about it. We haven't even started. We're not even announced anyone through the door yet. We still got
anyone.
But that's my thing. Like Todd Bowley's made it clear. You know, his intent in terms of the contract that he put forward for Raphinha was clear. You know, even you said like paying money up front, very weird thing to do from a football standpoint. But he's doing it because he wants to speed things up. He wants to go, right, tick, done. He's trying to get through things quickly. Do you know what I mean? And the fact that we've now been held up by Deco and Raphinha because in theory they want to hear out what Barcelona are going to say, and Barcelona are saying, well, look, we can give this, but your club are not going to accept that because they want to match what Chelsea, they want us to match what Chelsea done. We can't do that. It's a bit of common sense, isn't it? Like they're not going to do any more. They're not going to match Chelsea. The only thing Chelsea can do is potentially improve on that offer in terms of wages and things like that to just make him feel a bit more like, oh, do you know what? Let's just do it from our standpoint. But if I'm Todd Bowley, I'd give it to the weekend. And if he's still sitting there going, I'm waiting for Barcelona, then he's clear that he's never going to sign for us. And you just put some bit of heat on him, on his back, and just say, look, I'm going to pull this contract from you, but you're going to have nothing. And then you're going to have to wait till Barcelona give Leeds something. Do you know what I mean? So it's a bit of a weird one.
This is it, mate. Barca cannot match Chelsea's bid. Leeds won't accept what Barca have offered. As far as we're concerned, mate, it's just a case of waiting for the okay from Raphinha. And mate, for me, I agree, mate. Come Monday morning, if there's nothing from Raphinha, then we need to move on because it is kind of taking a piss. I mean, Barca. I don't know why Barca do this because they haven't even registered Christensen or Kessie because they haven't got the finances to do so. They want to sign Lewandowski. He's their priority over Raphinha. They haven't got the money to do that yet either. They're trying to sell Frankie de Jong to raise some funds. Doesn't look like he actually wants to leave Barcelona. They're kind of in a mess and taking a piss. And there's a bit of a hold up here, as you said. But I mean, what do you make of people on Twitter saying that? I'm sure you've seen it, mate. That I don't want Raphinha to sign for Chelsea because we're not his first choice. I mean, let's be honest. A lot of players that sign for Chelsea, we're not necessarily their first choice. Like Fabregas didn't want to come to Chelsea, but fans love him. You know, let's be honest. Kai Havertz, if Bayern Munich or Real Madrid could have afforded him in that COVID summer, he would have preferred to have gone to one of them. He wouldn't have come to Chelsea. Where do you stand on that? Where do you stand on that? Like players, if the club's not their first choice, we don't want them. I don't buy that.
I think people forget, like, Eden Hazard has always said he wanted to play for Real Madrid. It was his dream. Even when he first come to Chelsea, he was like, I want to play for Real Madrid. Like, players, like Real Madrid and Barcelona are just that dream for these young players. And that is what it is. Like, we've got to accept that. And it's not like we're losing Raphinha to Arsenal or Spurs. This is one of the biggest clubs in European football. Do you know what I mean? They're a lot bigger than us. And, you know, at the end of the day, him wanting... I kind of find this is why I try and stay away from Twitter because our fan base are reactionary. You know yourself. Yeah. As soon as something comes out, they take it as gospel. Oh my God, that's it. It's game over. They don't actually like understand it or think about it or try and analyze it in any way. And look, this whole thing of players not specifically, you know, being like John Terry and Lampard that one have always wanted to play for Chelsea and be this like they need to understand that probably most players that have come to Chelsea in the past 10 years through the Roman era have probably not been players that have specifically said, "Oh, I can't wait to play for Chelsea." They've just been players that probably have dreams elsewhere, but haven't been given offers from their dream teams at that time. And they've gone to Chelsea and they've made what they've made of themselves, and they've gone on like Hazard does to Real Madrid and lived that dream. Raphinha's in a position where he could he's not turned around and said he doesn't want to play for Chelsea.
Yeah.
I think Matt Law, someone come out and said like he does want to play. He does want to play for Chelsea. It's not like he doesn't like the idea of Chelsea. It's just that his dream teams just come knocking on the door. And it's like when you're that young kid and you dream of a team and they then come knocking, you're always going to get a little bit diverted from it. And I understand it to a degree. But at the same time, you look at it from our side, we ain't got time for this. We're not in a position to give time. So it's a hard one.
It is a tough one. I also get a couple of things in the chat. What's this one here? Top Bins can't buy commitment. He doesn't want us. He's muddling us. Let it go. I mean, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't go that far just yet, but I agree with what Jem's saying. You know, I don't think we can afford to go much further than the weekend because pre-season starting this weekend, etc., starting next week. We need an answer. I mean, and we need to move on because we haven't actually signed any players as we've covered. So yeah, I mean. Yeah, weekend. If there's no decision by end of Sunday, we need to move on. Santos, Chelsea can't convince. I don't think it's a case of convincing. Like he, as you said, Jem, he's happy to come to Chelsea, but he just wants to see if there's any chance of him being able to go to his dream team in Barcelona. Like he probably wants to explore that option to the absolute max before moving on. Texas Blue, big up, mate. Never wanted Raphinha. This would be a blessing if we can get Dembele out of it. Yeah, potentially, mate. Before we come on to Dembele. Just wanted to bring something up. Someone just raised my attention in the chat that Chelsea have appointed a new, where is it now? Price has just tweeted it out. Not that one.
Tom Glick. Yeah,
that's the one, mate. New one coming in. This one here.
Former Man City CEO, will take over day-to-day operations.
Yeah, I mean, Jem, what do you think of that? I mean, Tom Glick, former City CEO, will take over day-to-day operations of Chelsea Football Club. I mean, I've got to be perfectly honest, mate. I don't really know anything about this guy. I mean, never heard anything. Never heard anything about him. But I mean, thoughts on that? I mean, Bowley's obviously done his homework. The guy's obviously got some sort of credibility within the game, and it's important that we had someone coming in to have the day-to-day running of the club because Bowley can't do it all. He's spinning too many plates, and we needed to get the people in.
Yeah, well, there's other things people don't realise sometimes. There's more than just transfers in Chelsea. You know, it's a business. There's a business to be run there, and like you said, the day-to-day operations, whether it's to do with the scouting teams, if it's to do with the women's team, if it's to do with like the development teams, whatever. Like schedulising fixtures for all of the academies and things like that. There's a lot that actually you have to do, and on top of that, you're probably involved in the finances there as well, and if it's running well and what, like there's a lot that goes on. You know what I mean? We don't know about, and on top of that, you've got to then think about other ideas to grow us globally, branding and things like that. So this is a big job. This is actually a big job that people don't. I don't fully understand what his specifically role is, but when you hear day-to-day operations, this is a big job to take on. You know what I mean? This is not someone just walking in, just sitting in the background. This is someone coming in and actually being pretty much a right-hand man to Bowley and just doing all the bits that are the side bits and maybe just getting authority from him, but just tidying up so that he can focus on being the DOF, which he is at the moment, isn't he? Like the guy trying to get the deals done,
Yeah, I mean, for sure, mate. I think this is I mean, necessarily, we don't really know much about this guy, but this is, I think, a step in the right direction. Bowley's done his homework. He's obviously his guy that he wants to bring in, so we've got to trust his judgment. I think Bowley's been very impressive with how he's operated so far since he's taken over. And if this is the guy that he thinks right, then we need to go with it and kind of see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, Chelsea have got a new. I mean, I guess. I don't know if is that director of football? I mean, day-to-day operations. I suppose that covers it. That kind of encompasses everything, doesn't it? Day-to-day operations, I suppose. It's quite vague, that title, isn't it?
Yeah, he's not. I don't think he's a technical director or something like that. I don't know. Maybe he's kind of. This is the thing, like them getting rid of Bruce Buck and Cech and Marina. I feel he's actually going to amalgamate some of them positions
Like,
into
put them
one.
into one.
Yeah, like, and then he's just going to give like one person to do like the overrules of one part, and then he will get a technical director of football, I reckon, someone that does the negotiations
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But I think that you'll see that he's probably like not going to have as many people doing certain subjects. It'll just be like one covering others, yeah, like most of the proportions and that. So we have to see.
Yeah, we'll have to see. But yeah, I think it's definitely a step in the right direction. Tom Glick, former Man City CEO, will take over the day-to-day operations at Chelsea Football Club. But yeah, back to the transfer targets then, Jem. Someone in the chat saying, what's happening with Dembele? Dembele, obviously now a free agent. Contract expired at midnight last night. Barcelona. He hasn't signed the deal yet. It's the only deal that he actually has on the table currently. Ben Jacobs given an update on Dembele earlier. I'll just quickly bring it up on the screen now. He's a free agent. Offer from Barca remains his only formal option. He wanted double the €6 million base salary Barca had offers. He hasn't rejected the offer, but Barca may withdraw it soon should he fail to respond. Moussa Sissoko's agent hasn't got any other formal offers yet. So hence why Barca are confident in getting him to sign on significantly reduced wages. Sissoko's still in contact with Chelsea, who always said they'd only revisit it after his contract had expired. Won't meet Dembele's wage demands either. So Dembele really has got limited options unless he drops his wage demands. I mean, Jem, Ousmane Dembele, we've been linked with him for a while. He's now officially a free agent, so technically that perhaps should give us a little bit more leverage because he is without a club. But I mean, he's taking the piss with his wage demands, isn't he? If he was going to come to Stamford Bridge, he'd potentially he'd become the highest earner at the club. And for someone with, obviously, he's got undoubted ability for sure, but with his injury record and the amount of games he's actually played over the last few years, it's poor, isn't it? Like, I don't think we can be offering someone like that those top earner wages at the club. He'd have to come in on for me, a heavily incentivized contract through bonuses, etc., and prove himself. I mean, where do you stand on Dembele? Do you think this is one still worth pursuing?
I think what Chelsea will do is offer more than Barcelona, and that's the honest thing. And I think you're right. I think he's going to have to come to. It's going to come to a point where he's going to just have to kind of accept what he's being offered to a degree, and whether it's staying at Barcelona and getting paid peanuts or going to Chelsea and actually getting paid something that's better than what they've offered, whatever that will be, he's going to have to make that decision. If I was him, and you've just seen that because he had a contract given to him, and he got another one given to him, which was less than the one that he got. So he was waiting all that time.
Yeah,
they just gave him less money. Yeah, so. It's like if you're him, and that's the way the club looks at you. I'd just want to leave personally. I'd be like, well, they don't really want me here. So, like, if they did, they'd put themselves out a bit more. That Chelsea made it very clear that they weren't going to approach him, and this is what Ben Jacobs said again. He said it twice on my show as well. He said Chelsea won't approach him until he's formally out of this. Formally see through his contract. Obviously, yesterday was the last day that he's now a free agent. Now he is that free agent. Chelsea did say that they will explore the idea of trying to get him across. Whether it's a weird one here because I don't think Barcelona are going to get Raphinha and Dembele. I think it's going to be either or. So I think we're in quite a strong position to get either or as well. You know, I'd rather be Raphinha or it'd be Dembele. And the reason I say that is because Raphinha, if they do somehow find the money for Raphinha, Dembele, they're not going to keep Dembele on for his wages. It doesn't make no sense to them. They've just bought on a player that, all right, cost them 60 mil, but he's going to probably accept 115k from them easily, which is not a lot in wages for them probably. So, you know, there is a good chance for Chelsea to get Dembele, I feel, and I don't think it's gone out of the waters yet. I was a little bit worried about PSG, but they signed Campos. So now they've done that, I feel like they're going to kind of maybe stay away from the idea of entertaining that. But Dembele himself has to accept and understand that he's not going to get what he's been living on at Barcelona for the last couple of seasons, which is ridiculous. In theory, it was a ridiculous wage. He should never have been given that amount of wage in the first place. But I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. I think Thomas Tuchel will definitely have to get involved in this one again and try and push him to come across.
Wait, do you think there's any chance that we potentially end up with Raphinha and Dembele, both of them? Because, I look at it and think, right, potentially. Right, Lukaku's gone. Hakim Ziyech is probably, if we can get a deal with AC Milan, he's going to move on. And then one of Pulisic or Werner is probably going to move on as well if we can get a deal with Juventus for Ligt potentially. We're looking at 3 attackers potentially going out. that means that 3 would potentially have to come in. I mean, if I'm looking at it, Lukaku, Ziyech, and say Werner out, Dembele, Raphinha, and Sterling in. Seems like pretty good business, that, doesn't it?
It does, but I don't see Barcelona letting both go. I think if Raphinha agrees with Chelsea, I think they go that, because with the agreement or the contract that they've offered him, apparently it's still on the table. They've not
still
actually
there.
they haven't pulled it yet. So I feel that that's their like contingency plan. Like it's there to see what Raphinha does. Like say if Raphinha, if they do manage to work out the Raphinha thing with Leeds, then I think you will see that Dembele will come. I don't like. Do you get what I mean? I think they're quite kind of, because I read Ben Jacobs said on one of these comments. I don't know if you scroll down.
Yeah, I'll
is a
scroll
comment.
down, mate.
He says something about Raphinha and Dembele.
Oh yeah, it's still likely, contrary to what Barca club sources are saying, that the Dembele Raphinha situation is intertwined. Barca maintain they ideally want both. I mean, mate, as we referred to earlier, how on earth could they be in a position to afford both? Because they can't. They haven't even registered Christensen and Kesse, who were signing on free transfers, who agreed to join them months and months ago.
And you're forgetting their main priority is Robert Lewandowski. And
exactly.
To get an agreement with him. So, like, how are they signing all these? They're not. The simple answer. Some people need to just simplify it. Sometimes
they're not signing.
They're just not doing it. They're going to have to pick and choose. And at the end of the day, this is what I'm saying. We could still probably get Raphinha. You know, some people thought it might not happen. Like, we could still get him, and it would probably be because they just can't match what we've done. And eventually, Raphinha's just going to have to agree coming to us. But with Dembele, you could be right. We could get both with Dembele, but it's going to fall on Dembele because if he accepts the lower offer, but Chelsea have given him something better, then fair enough. But then it might be the case of where he goes, well, actually, if I go to Chelsea, they've already got rid of 3 forwards. Tuchel's told me on the phone that I'm crucial to his team. Raphinha, all right, Raphinha is there. He plays in that position, but we know Raphinha could potentially be used as a wing back because that's what we're being told at latest. Especially if we use a free system, which I'm not fully 100% on, but he can supposedly do it. Yeah. And then you've got Sterling off the left, Havertz up front, Dembele, and then Raphinha as a wing back and Reece James as a right centre back. That's quite that's quite
tasty, that, isn't it? Yeah.
It is, but who knows? We'll have to see.
I mean, let me just get to this in the chat. Does Tuchel like Raphinha more than Dembele? I mean, I've got absolutely no idea. I think he appreciates both of them, but I mean, he has said that Dembele is one of the most talented players he's ever coached. But I mean, I don't know if he's got. He'll probably have a preference, but I mean, I don't think, at least publicly, he's not stated that. Why we're not signing Dembele on a free? I mean, that's not completely dead yet. But as I said, wage demands are ridiculous. He wants 12 million euros a season, which is, for someone with his injury record, as I said, is quite ridiculous, really. But Jim, do you think he'd fit into the system well at Chelsea if he were to sign? He's very 2-footed, can play either side, so that versatility definitely appeals. So I mean, do you think he'd have any problems slotting into the Chelsea front line?
Nah, I think Dembele is, providing he's injury free. I think Dembele is a massive talent. He is so good, and I can't think of many players forwards that play in his position that can use both feet. Like, I don't know many in the world of football that can literally shoot with his left and shoot with his right and cross with both and take players on with both. Usually when you play against the left footer, he's always going to cut inside. With Dembele, you don't know whether he's going to go inside, to the left, if he's going to go to the right, because he can do both. And on top of that, he has this crazy speed. Like, he's rapid, very quick. Like, Sterling's quick. Like, Sterling's quite quick as well. But he is quick. And the thing with him is that, for me, why I want him so much is that he's so direct. And we don't have that at the moment. If we need forwards that are just going to sometimes just run behind them low blocks. Do you know what I mean? Instead of just going for the ball and playing 1-2 and turning around and there's nothing there, which is what they do half the time. So Raphinha will stretch him, Sterling will stretch him, and on top of that, he can create for fun. The guy can create for fun. He will set up Havertz all day. Havertz will he'll have fun with him. I tell you, setting him up, because he will get a lot more. He'll get a lot more creative for him with a Dembele than he will with any of the other current guys that we've got at the moment. Because that's just the way he plays the game. And Sterling, on the flip side of it, will also benefit from Dembele because he will be seen as the creator. Sterling will be seen more as he he can create, but he'll be the one that we probably look to like getting on the end of the goals. You know what I mean? Which is what we need to see. So I think you need that blend. And I always bang on about chemistry.
Yeah,
we don't have that with our forward line at the moment.
No,
If
mate,
you
it's
get
actually there's
if
none.
you get it is none. That's what I'm saying. So if you imagine if you throw with Dembele and Sterling, who can when you think about it, they can complement each other because they're both quick. One can create, the other one can find themselves in the right positions to score. Havertz as well arriving in. I think that all round we could benefit from that forward line.
Yeah, I think so as well. We'll get to this in a sec about Sterling. We should let Raphinha go and welcome Neymar. I mean, maybe. I don't buy into this that Raphinha doesn't want Chelsea. I mean, I'm pretty certain that Chelsea's definitely above Arsenal on his priority list. But yeah, maybe not. I can't force him to sign. I don't know about that. Barcelona haven't had their finances fixed. No, agreed. Yeah, mate. But guys, before we move on to Sterling, make sure you smash the likes and subscribe to the channel if you're new as well. Please do subscribe. Really appreciate all the support. I mean, Sterling, number one attacking priority is clear. We're getting closer to a deal, but this has gone a little bit quiet the last couple of days. We had that initial approach through intermediaries rejected. Chelsea were preparing a second offer, which was believed to be £35 million plus add-ons. We haven't really heard back on that from Manchester City yet. Do you think that offer will be enough to get it, or we're going to need a bit more, aren't we? I'm seeing reports that the final fee could end up being 45 plus add-ons, so a potential a complete total of £55 million. We're close to an agreement. I think this probably will happen. Where do you stand on this? Because it has gone a little bit quiet last couple of days.
The reason it's gone quiet is because it's not really a priority right now. There's no one that actually is chasing Sterling. It's just Chelsea.
Yeah, true.
So it's there. It will be done. If anything, it may even already be done from what we've been hearing on Twitter the last day or two. So, it's a good signing. I know some people are very reserved with the idea of having Sterling coming to Chelsea. I'm not his biggest fan. I'm not going to lie. I don't think he's like.
No, I haven't been either.
I moan about him quite a lot. But then when you look at his output levels, 117 goals with 77 assists, he's the third. From a winger standpoint, he's the first highest goal scorer from a winger in the Premier League. That's 117 goals. That's quite impressive, and he brings something that I think Tuchel would suit Tuchel's system, and that's why Tuchel wants him so much. I think he's quite versatile because he can drop deep, he can take players on, can also run behind, and he always finds himself in the box as well. So he could do a bit of everything, and that's what I think we're trying to look for. We're sort of looking for them players that can do a bit of everything, but also can contribute to goals. And that's why I'm saying I think we're going to move away from the typical number 9 because of who absolutely put the nail in the coffin, and maybe look to go down the route of finding these sort of inside forwards that are quick, direct, directly sort of quick dribble and can actually put the ball in the back of it and just contribute throughout the season. Not ask for like 30 goals out of him.
No.
But if he can do what he does for Man City and get 20 odd goals a season or even 16 odd goals a season, whatever, that's a big thing for Chelsea, especially when you look at our current forwards and how many goals they've scored.
Output's poor. It really, I mean, I'm like you, Matt. I've been critical of Sterling in the past, but then when actually sit back and look at it, the he's been around for ages, but he's still only 27, prime years of his career ahead of him. He's well established in the England side. I mean, pretty much single-handedly was a driving force behind us getting to that Euros final. He's a standout player in that side, that tournament. He's done very well at Manchester City. Yes, his numbers perhaps have dropped off a little bit last season or so, but he's still very productive there. And I mean, under Pep Guardiola, only 3 players have scored 100 goals. Sterling, Messi, and Aguero. I'm not saying he's in the same bracket as them, but only out of all the attackers that Guardiola's coached, only 3 players have scored 100 goals, and Sterling's in that list. I mean, look, is he going to score 20 goals at Chelsea a season in the league? No, probably not. But is he better than what we've got? Absolutely, he is better. So for me, I don't really have a problem with this. You look at it, 27 years of age, as I said, 1 year left on the contract. And if you're looking at bringing in a proven wide player in the Premier League, £45 million plus add-ons for someone with his record in this league, you're going to struggle to get it cheaper anywhere else. You really are. So I think this is a good deal. Jem, you think this one is, I mean, as good as a done deal? You can't see how Sterling doesn't play for Chelsea next season?
No, you've heard that he's already had conversations with Tuchel and he understands his role and he's looking forward to it. And the fact that Man City are even allowing him to go, still find quite surprising, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, it's a benefit for us. At the end of the day, he wants to play here, and he's a London boy anyway, traditionally,
Yeah.
isn't he? So I think he probably liked the idea of being back in London for a bit. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think hopefully over the weekend we should get some more news on Sterling. Maybe starting next week, something might be wrapped up. Mythos in the chat. What about getting Serge Gnabry? I mean, Gnabry is obviously, I don't think he's going to sign a new contract at Bayern, but I still think he's got a couple of years left on it. I do like Gnabry, but yeah, he's definitely not a target for Chelsea this summer. That's for sure. Chelsea didn't hijack Richarlison. Richarlison has signed for Spurs. They were interested in hijacking the deal, but only on their own terms. But that's done and dusted now. What's this? Looking at such a lack of transfer activity this month from Chelsea, I don't think that we will have any new players signed before pre-season. No, well, considering pre-season pretty much starts this weekend, I'd say it was unlikely, but there is stuff coming. There will be stuff coming. I mean, Jem, moving on to defenders now, mate. Matthias de Ligt seems to be the main target at Chelsea. You know, talks of a swap deal plus cash with Juve. I mean, Werner was the priority, but apparently they prefer Pulisic now. And I've also seen reports saying that Chelsea may be prepared, I don't know how accurate they are, to include Kante or Jorginho as well. I mean, it's clear that we're trying to get that price down by including a player. It would be great to get Timo Werner off the books, not only because he's not performed well for Chelsea, but he's on the biggest wages out of any of those mentioned. How do you see this going? I mean, I think there's a chance that the Ligt will sign for Chelsea, but do you think Juve will be happy to accept a player?
I think they're going to have to, because I don't think Chelsea are going to give him the full 100 or 100 and whatever they want million euros in cash. I don't think we can afford to when you think about, like I said earlier, how much we've got to do in this window. And I think we do need to offload some of these players that don't want to play for this football club. And I think Ziyech's one of them that definitely wants to leave. We know Pulisic's still been unsure, and even in his performances last season, he still didn't look right in himself. Timo Werner, like you said, makes sense in terms of the wage. Would save quite a lot from him as well. Him and Lukaku would both go in, would be great for the wage structure and allow us to sort of sign more players, but be a bit smart with the wages and stuff when we bring them on. So I think De Ligt's he's going to leave Juventus, because the chairman coming out and saying that they're not going to hold him back and all this stuff, and now all of a sudden he's gone back to Juventus himself just to force it a bit more, and they've had to reduce the cost for him and stuff. Tells me that there's a deal to be done there, but I still think we still need to be a little bit quick with it, because he is a very good player at 22 years old. His CV is ridiculous. You know, he's played for Juventus, he's played Champions League football, and you'd look at him and be like, but he's still a baby, but he's played so many important big games already. I think this is a good chance for Chelsea to find that sort of player that also gives sort of the leadership roles as well, which we don't have. You know, someone that's going to really play for the shirt, hopefully. So I think he's a good player. He also gives you the option to sort of switch systems. You know, we always talk about this for forever's sake 4 system. He can play in the back 4. You know, he can play in the back 3. So it makes a lot of sense. But it's about getting the right deal, if you know what I mean, where you give Pulisic and you add a bit of money on top of it, or Werner, you add a bit of money on top of it, and you move from there.
Yeah, no, for sure, mate. I mean, just on that, I mean, like, I think the flat fee Juve would have wanted was about 102 million euros. They're not going to get that. But I mean, out of the players, I mean, Werner, yes, would be ideal. But I mean, if Juve came to us and said we'll do a deal for De Ligt if you give us Pulisic and say 40 million euros or whatever, would you be happy letting Pulisic go if it meant getting De Ligt in, or for you is it very much Timo Werner, or we need to kind of move away from the deal?
Pulisic was all our forwards. Pulisic was probably third in line for me, third. So I'd say Ziyech. I'd probably say Ziyech, Werner, and then Pulisic for me. I wouldn't be against the whole idea of him leaving, to be honest. I don't feel he's done enough to really merit that he deserves to be here, personally. I think he's let us down a little bit. Also, he's had injuries as well. He had that good stint at the beginning of Lampard's first season, if you remember, when he came back. With him and Giroud, that sort of got us the Champions League football, and we managed to just pip 4th. But I like, you know what, is Pulisic? He's talented. He's got so much about him, but I don't know whether we're going to see it at Chelsea. He'll probably go somewhere else.
He's only 23 as well. Like, he's still young.
I know, but he'll probably end up going Juventus, where it's a little bit slower and a bit more space, and he'll probably be so effective there. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Mate, he's just one of them that, you know, we signed him for £63 million, and you just feel like we haven't really seen our money's worth from him. Like, and there's been moments, but like with a lot of the forwards, not just him, he just doesn't deliver on a consistent basis. It'll be a couple of decent games, then goes missing. And at Chelsea, you just can't do that. And I know he's only 23 still, but he's been here. I think if he stays, this might be going into his 4th season at the club, maybe third, 4th season. Like we need more from him. I think I'd be happy for him to stay one more year, but also if Juve really want him and it means us getting Ligt, I've got no problem with him going. But yeah, I mean the Ligt one's interesting. I definitely agree with you, mate. 22 years of age, despite his youth, he's very experienced. He's got great leadership qualities, as we've seen from his captaincy at Ajax. This is one that I'd definitely be keen to play. Versatile, can play all 3 positions across a back 3, can also play in a 4 quite comfortably. So, I mean, yeah, I'd be fully on board with this one. But again, we need to start moving quickly with this one to try and wrap it up. I mean, sticking with centre-backs, Jules Koundé, we've been linked with him. Should have got it done last year. And then we've seen Koundé in London just before the sanctions were ending, possibly waiting to, I don't know what he was doing in London. And then you get news coming out that all of a sudden, like, you know, Chelsea actually haven't offered any official proposal or any official bid. I mean, I think reports today saying that Chelsea people have been in Seville for the last 3 days trying to do something, couldn't get anything done. I think Sevilla wanted, 60 million plus 10 add-ons. I don't know if that's euros or pounds.
Euros,
yeah, euros. And nothing's been done. I mean, it's weird, isn't it? Because De Ligt is obviously the priority defensively. We've been sort of, this Koundé deal has been there to be done for months and months and months, and yet we've done nothing about it. I mean, what do you think is going on with this Koundé business? Because for me, this is one that should have been wrapped up. It should have been wrapped up last summer. There's no reason why it still isn't done now. If Chelsea genuinely want Jules Koundé, it would be done now.
You're right. I think it goes both ways, though. You know, like if people know me, obviously you've known me quite long, but people know that I've always wanted Jules Koundé. Jules Koundé is a player that I actually rate quite a lot, and I think he's very important that we actually get him because he just fits Tuchel's style. Like when you look at the way he plays football, he has the ability to just grow under Tuchel. You know, Tuchel's very good with man management and getting the best out of players as well. And a player like Koundé is still very young, and his recovery speed is very good, moving forward with the ball progressively, very good, passing forward. He's strong in tackles. I know people moan about him aerially, but he's won 3/4 of his aerial duels in the last 2 seasons in La Liga. Like the guy can spring. Do you know what I mean? He's got a good spring in his step. He can jump. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So it makes up for it slightly. But he is a quality player, and again, he's versatile because he allows you to play 3 and he allows you to play 4. So you get De Ligt and you get Koundé. You've got players that allow you to adapt comfortably, and you don't get affected. Last season, we tried to adapt because we were forced into moving from the 3 to the 4s. But the players that we had aren't versatile. So when you ask them to play in a position, they just can't do it because it's just not them. And that's why we suffered last season. Our depth and not enough versatility in the players that we've got didn't allow us to have that mix. And we know Tuchel likes to have a mix in the formations, even in between games. So I'm a little bit frustrated with the Koundé thing because I thought it'd be one of the first through the door straight away. I didn't think it would be an issue. And obviously, I know Monchi is Sevilla's sporting director, and he's a nightmare to work with in terms of trying to get money out of him, but getting deals agreed. But you know, it gets to a point where we've offered 50 or 52 million. They want 60. You have a meet in the middle.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. You have a meeting in the middle. You've been negotiating for 3 times apparently, or in 3 days or whatever. And what you're telling me, you can't find a stopgap between what you've offered originally to what they want on top. Whether it's the add-ons that's the issue on top of it, then we're just but the add-ons. I think we probably want to do about 55 plus add-ons.
Yeah.
That's what I think, and they want 60 plus add-ons, which will probably push it up even more. So I don't know. It's a tough one. I just think Sevilla have just been knobs, to be honest, as well. So
I would agree, mate. I think it's made a bit harder by the fact that Diego Carlos, their other centre back, went to Villa. Maybe they're slightly less reluctant to get rid of him.
But he don't want to be there, Charlie. He don't want to be there.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't, mate. Do I read the chat? Yes, I do, Straz. That's just like, obviously, as it comes through quick, I do try to get as much of it through as I can. PSG was saying earlier, PSG wants to give Neymar to Juventus on loan. I heard. I mean, I'm not. Juventus are another one. I'm not sure how true that is. I've not seen that anywhere. I doubt Juve couldn't afford any of that stuff anyway. They're another one that are financially struggling as well. But yeah, I do read the chat, mate. So
AC Milan, I would have understood it, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, Jim, do you think it's Koundé or De Ligt, or do you think it can be Koundé and De Ligt? Do you think it's one of those two? It should be both. I agree, mate.
It should be
I've
both.
got a feeling. I've got a feeling it's going to end up being one of them. I think it'll be one of them plus Nathan Ake or someone like that. I mean, just mate. I know, conscious of time. Just before we wrap up, mate. Nathan Ake, interesting one to be linked with. Was at Chelsea. We sold him to Bournemouth for 20 odd million a few years ago. We had a first option on him if he were to be sold by Bournemouth. We didn't take that option up. He went to City for 40 million. He's done okay there. He's not played an awful lot of football, understandably. Tuchel's a big fan of him. He's high up on Chelsea's list for centre-backs. 27 years of age now. And he's versatile, can play centre-back, can play left-back, can also play holding midfield. I mean, not that we'd use him there potentially, but he has got that in the locker. I mean, I'm not dead against this as a deal. It wouldn't be my number one priority, but if he came in alongside of the Ligt or a Koundé, I wouldn't be that against it. People, reports talking around the 35, 40 million pound mark to get him back. I mean, Jem, what are your thoughts on Ake? I mean, it's not a sexy signing. It's a little bit, you do feel a little bit embarrassed as Chelsea thinking, how have we, let someone else go now, we're paying money to bring him back, etc. I get that. But from a footballing perspective, it kind of makes sense a little bit to me.
It's only the versatility in his game that makes sense to me. Like the price tag don't make sense to me. I'm sorry. I think 40 million is well overpriced for a player that's plays second fiddle C and can't even get into the first team. I would have said anything no more than 30 mil, and then maybe I would have been a bit more attached to it. But it looks like we're looking, like you said, to get one of the marquee centre backs, Koundé or Ligt, and then add someone that's a little bit cheaper, but that Tuchel obviously rates that is versatile. He is versatile as well, so he allows us to adapt. But you go to a back four, he can play left back. He has done for Man City in the past. Yeah. So it does give you options. I just feel that there's potential that we might get 3 centre backs. I don't know why.
Well, mate. Yeah.
Ake could be bought for the right amount, but you could see that Ligt comes through the door and Koundé comes through the door, or Ligt and Koulibaly. I don't know, but people feel that if Ligt's bought, Koundé don't come because Ligt should be playing off the right. I don't think he does. I think he'd probably play off the left next to Thiago Silva.
I would agree.
And Koundé would fill in as right centre back. So Nathan Ake, cutting it short, I'm not a massive fan of the idea, to be honest, but I kind of understand the route that we're going down in terms of if he's coming for squad depth and he's going to play a certain amount of games and he's going to be like rotation player, then I'm cool for it. But if you're telling me that he's one of the main 2 that's going to replace Rudiger's position, that don't make sense to me. That's it. Just don't make sense to me. That is.
I would agree, man. I think City paid 40 mil for him. They're going to want at least 40 million back for him. Remains to be seen on that. It's definitely an area that needs addressing ASAP as well, because it's the priority position that needs addressing centre back. We lost the 2. Aspie and Alonso, that's gone quiet on their departures. Could be losing one or if not both of them. We need to get defensive bodies in the door quickly. And then last thing, Jem, Maxwell Cornet, the Burnley attacker / wingback. TalkSport reporting that Chelsea potentially looking at a cut price deal of £17.5 million for him. I mean, that's one of them that's kind of come out of the blue. I mean, I don't know too much about him. I know he was half decent at Lyon. I didn't really see too much of him at Burnley in the Premier League. But I mean, do you think this is just kind of rubbish, or do you think there could be a bit of substance to this? I mean, I don't know if I'd be dead against it if he should just come in as a backup and played every so often. Maybe not. But Chile's not going to be fit to at least potentially after the World Cup or fully up and running again. Whoever comes in as a backup fullback is going to have to play a lot of minutes to start with.
It's just Chelsea again being tapping FC, isn't it? Apparently we're linked to every single Tom, Dick and Harry, So, but I've seen bits of him. He's versatile. He's quick. He is probably an okay player. My issue with it is he good enough to play for a Chelsea Football Club?
Yeah.
That's is he at that level? I mean, if he's squad depth and he's not going to play many games and he's happy just to hang around the bench in case Chilwell gets injured or whatever and come in and play along with maybe Emerson, if we end up keeping him, then fine. I'm cool with that. It just shows that we're trying to improve the depth. But I just think it's probably that kind of news where, we always get that random player that comes out of nowhere from a lower league or Chelsea are interested, but then it dies off a week later. I think it's one of them, but we have to see what happens.
Yeah, for sure, man. If they're going shopping at Burnley, I'd rather us get Dwight McNeil, to be honest, than Cornet. I know he'd probably cost a bit more money, but he's a better player and it'd be a better investment for sure. But that seems like a good point to round out, guys. Still 50 of you here, so please do smash the likes and please do subscribe to the channel. Looking to hit that 650 mark. There's about 3 or 4 more subs to go. So over 50 of you in here. I'm sure there's some of you that haven't subscribed. So yeah, help me get to that 650 and head towards the 700 mark. So please do smash that subscribe button on your way out. Jem, thanks so much for your time, bro. Make sure you check out GNA TV, guys. It's tagged in the description, and follow Jem on Twitter as well. Lots of exciting stuff going on over on his channels, and he's doing some stuff. His show's going to be streaming on Chelsea Fan TV as well. So make sure you go and check it out, guys. Yeah, but I'll be back maybe over the weekend if there's any breaking news. But I'll be back on Monday with some more transfer updates. So yeah, until next week, take care, guys. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks for tuning in, and hit that subscribe button on your way out.